And hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Spotlight. We have a special guest here with us today, all the way from St. Augustine, Florida. We are here with Carl Hollister. He's the executive director of St. Photios, Greek Orthodox Church of St. Augustine's, and we cannot wait to hear this fabulous story. Pay attention, everyone, because Carl has some very interesting historical information about the Greek immigrants that came to America in 1776. Carl, welcome to In the Spotlight on New Greek Television.
Oh, thank you, Yanna. Thank you so much for highlighting the shrine. The St. Photios Greek Orthodox National Shrine is the first national shrine for the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese in North America. The property here was actually acquired in 1966 under the leadership of Archbishop Iakovos of blessed memory. He spearheaded the whole process and program to get the shrine established. I mean, it took some time. I mean, going from 1966 to 1982, when the shrine first opened. You're dealing with the oldest European city, continuously operating city in North America in St. Augustine. St. Augustine has been a continuous operating city since 1565. So just imagine the historical impact that has. So you had to go through the state, you had to go to the local historical societies, you had to go through the university historical societies, you had to go through the county historical societies in order to get the rights to begin your archaeological digging if you wanted to make any improvements. Even today, when we want to put up new signs just to replace the signs that have been weather beaten from the salt air, there's multiple committees of historical societies that we have to go through to make sure things are just the way it was going back 258 years ago.
And we are celebrating 250 years this year. So this is 258 years. So let's talk about the history of that. Give me the story that really not many people know about, the history of the first Greek who came here, was part of an expedition.
So it's very interesting. There was a expedition in 1528 from Spain, the Navarrese expedition. And basically, they were coming to the New World looking for riches. They were looking for gold, silver, maybe some new food items that they could bring back. Well, there was a Greek on that particular adventure named Theodoro Grego, who, along with many of the, I would call them adventurers or mercenaries or pirates, for lack of a better term, that came to the New World, met the indigenous population, the Indians, and basically they were slaughtered by the Indians. And the Indians allowed 4 of them to survive, and basically through different types of language was able to get them to understand, we want you to go back home and tell your people not to come back here again. So this was 1528.
Was Theodoros one of the 4 that survived?
No, he perished.
Okay.
He perished. But in today in Clearwater, Florida, there's a statue of Theodoro Grego being recognized as the first Greek here in the United States.
And so tell us how this correlates to the first immigrants that came to America, what year they came. It seems they came over 150 years after that and settled. The significance of that, rather.
So let's talk about Europe post 1453. So Europe post 1453, you had the fall of Constantinople, you had the Ottoman Empire pillaging, doing horrific atrocities against every civilization. Yes. So it forced a lot of the Greeks to move west. So you had Greeks that obviously they left Greece, they went to Sicily, they went to Italy, they went to Corsica, and they went to this island called Minorca. So this happened over many, many years. In fact, even in the early 1700s, you had Greeks that were leaving the Peloponnesus from the village or the Mani region going further west, all the way to Minorca, and establishing themselves. In fact, in 1768, there were 2 Greek Orthodox priests living and ministering in Minorca to the Greek population. There was a Father Theoklitos and a Father Seraphim. And I bring this context because while this is going on, again, you had St. Augustine was the oldest city on a continuous basis from 1565. You basically had Eastern Florida and Western Florida. Okay, so the Eastern Florida was controlled by the British. Mm-hmm. So the British were trying to colonize parts of the northeast part of Florida. And you had the British population was not terribly enthralled in going to an area that had significant humidity, had these alligators, had snakes, and had mosquitoes as big as hummingbirds. So it was very difficult for the British government to get the British citizens to move and populate northern Florida.
Yes, you can see that with the older buildings, they had no balconies. They were all enclosed, very small windows.
Yes, yes. And what ended up happening is that you had this Andrew Turnbull, who was a physician. He was a Scot. He had married a Greek. His wife was of Greek descent.
Well, how about that?
So he and his partners decided that they would make an offer to the British government that they would populate an area in northeastern Florida, mm-hmm. and they would get people to work on a plantation, and the plantation was going to be an indigo plantation, getting the blue dye. That was very popular in Europe. Mm-hmm. So Turnbull and his associates received an allocation of land. They received an allocation of funding, 2,000 pounds in gold, 20,000 acres each for the 4 partners that went into this endeavor to populate the northern part of Florida. And so they had this plan that what they would do is they would go, again, because Turnbull was married to a Greek woman, he thought, let's go in the Eastern Mediterranean and try to get as many Greeks to come to the New World because they'll acclimate to this climate easier.
Yes. And what year was this, Carl?
1768.
Okay. And they were still under the Ottoman Empire. So how did
Yes.
the Ottoman Empire allow that? Did they have
So based on what areas, what transpired, you have to think of a map of the Mediterranean. And there was a schooner, a military schooner, that the British government gave to Turnbull and his associates so that they could go from Minorca eastward all the way to the former area of Thrace and Smyrna in what is now modern-day Turkey.
Yes.
And they took that schooner looking for able-bodied persons. Now, some of them, because of the Ottoman Empire, on some of the islands, they had to bribe the Turks in order to be able to get people
to leave,
to get on board.
Right.
Now, there was a big misrepresentation. I mean, there are some history books that talk about Turnbull being this wonderful humanitarian that brought people to colonize the new world, and that's really a misnomer, because the people that came that he solicited all signed an indentured servants contract.
Oh no!
So they
were slaves.
They were basically slaves. Now here's the difference, though, between a slave and indentured servant. A slave, when one of the landowners, property owners had slaves, they would at least care for them with some degree of care because they had that slave for life. So if they wanted to get the most use out of a slave, they would make sure that they weren't malnutritioned, they wouldn't be dehydrated, they would be able to be very productive for their entire life. On the indentured servants, it was very different, because on the indentured servants, you only had them for 7 years. And at the end of 7 years, you had to pay them something to get started in the New World.
Good luck
So
with that.
They did not take good care of the indentured
my.
servants. So here you have this opportunity. You're in your hudyo. You have very few economic prospects. You're a young male that you're tired of fighting with the Turks, and your family's like, look, get out of here, go to the New World.
Yeah.
So
now,
sign up.
was it also women and children, or it was just was it families? Was it just the men? They could come back, or
the vast majority were just males.
oh no.
There was one Greek woman that did come. Now, what's interesting, when Turnbull and his partners were talking about starting this endeavor, they were looking at 500 indentured servants. So imagine you're in the Eastern part of the Mediterranean, you're trying to get at least 500 people to sign up, and then your partners who are working in New Smyrna that are setting up billeting or housing for these indentured servants, building an infrastructure for the indentured servants, they're planning on 500. Okay? They end up getting 1,403 indentured servants. Well, actually, it was 1,400. There were three other people. It was Father Theoklitos, Father Pedro Camps, and Father.
So everyone wanted to leave. I understood. That's understood.
Yes.
But did they understand what they were signing up for? No.
Yes.
They did.
Okay. So let's go back to the schooner. So the schooner is going as far east in the Mediterranean as it can, and then it's hitting parts of what was Thrace, what was Smyrna, what was Crete, what was the Peloponnesus, what was Sicily, what was part of Italy, what was Corsica. They're hitting all these areas, and they are taking everybody to Minorca.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to use the island of Minorca as the point of debarkation. That's where they're going to have 8 ships. They're going to take all these indentured servants. They're going to go. So, and the reason I bring this up as Minorca, when you look at Minorcan history, if you look at groups like the Minorcan Society or the Minorcan Experience, they don't get into a lot of detail on the difference between cradle Minorcans that were actually born in Minorca versus those that were displaced civilians that were moving away from the Turks that moved their families in. So you had some French,
Yep.
You had some Italian, you had a lot of Greeks. So you ended up with 500 Greeks out of 1,403 that were part of this adventure to come over to the New World.
So the remaining people or men, not children, not women and children, there was a drain of male population then.
Yes.
So a majority of that population stayed in Minorca.
Yes. So when they were getting ready to leave, and they brought in all the people that they had gotten in from the Peloponnesus, from Sicily, from Corsica, from Smyrna, from Thrace, from all these, and they probably hit some of the other Greek islands, Kos, Ikaria, which my family's from, whatever they came across. Turnbull wanted to get some type of pastoral care in place to calm the people. So there were 2 Catholic priests, Father Pedro Camps and Father Casanovas, who volunteered to go because a lot of the Minorcans, a lot of the Italians, and a lot of the French, they were Catholic. So these were 2 Catholic priests. But in the village of Mahon, in Minorca, there were these 2 Greek Orthodox priests, again, Father Theoklitos and Father Seraphim.
Mm-hmm.
And Father Seraphim decided to stay in Minorca and continue to minister to the Greeks that were in Minorca. And then Father Theoklitos went with the 20 Greeks from the parish that he was serving to the New World on one of these 8 ships that came in, that left in April 17th of 1768 and landed on June 26th, 1768 in New Smyrna. Now, 1,403
They
are on
called
these
it,
ships.
so New Smyrna is a new name of so who named the town as Nea Smyrna?
So that was named by the British because a lot of the people were coming from Smyrna.
Right. So this is, yes. Okay. So this is northeast. Now we're talking about which area is this now, right? In Florida? Is this?
This is Florida.
It is Florida, but what is the area? Is it?
So if I put it in context, from St. Augustine, it's 68 miles south of St. Augustine.
Okay. Which is today Nea Smyrna.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Wow. How interesting. So this is a new Greek population. You have about 500 men brought into work fixing this plantation. And therefore so who did they marry? How did they grow? Did they bring over brides? Was that part of remember the brides that they would bring over with the boats?
So some of them, there were women that were here because you had some Spanish women.
Okay.
The Spaniards would try to populate the western part of Florida, and they would bring women to help try to populate the population.
Because there's a Greek story that they were called the Brides. It was a great film by Vulgaris and his wife, and so great film how they would put these women into boats and send them off to get married to unknown places.
Right, and there were look, when you look at go back to 1453, the fall of Constantinople. You had Greeks that were in the Philippines, that were in India. They were going wherever they could.
They were leaving. Yes, it was a harsh occupation. People don't really understand what this all meant. And so this is why everyone fled. Many went to Europe. This is why the Renaissance happened in Europe. And this is so fascinating. So before America even became a country, you're saying to me, it was populated. And we're talking about 1776, rather, when it just started. It was
so think of the American Revolutionary War. Florida wasn't part of that.
Yes, I know. That's why I'm saying it wasn't part. It was owned by the Spaniards. This was a Spanish territory.
It was Spanish and British. I mean, the big fort here in St. Augustine. We joke that it changed its flag, like some people change socks. So let me go back to 1768. So 1768, they land on June 26th. Again, it was Turnbull and his associates planned for 500 indentured servants. They had 1,403 that were on these 8 ships. 1,255 survived the trip from Minorca to New Smyrna.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to house more than twice the numbers that they had built for.
Wow.
So even though that they were near water, even though that there was ample fishing opportunities and the ability for sustenance, they had to dig to get more potable water.
Right.
So there's a tremendous canal system that you see in northeastern Florida, and a lot of that was from these indentured servants.
Well, Greeks are master builders.
Yes.
They understood
phenomenal
builders, engineering feats that even from antiquity that they can't even replicate today. Yes.
So Father Theoklitos, he's trying to minister to the Greeks. Again, he's from June 26, 1768. You had Father Casanovas and Father Pedro Camps are trying to keep all of the 3 priests would work together trying to keep people in a very positive mindset, saying, look, things are going to get better eventually. They're going to get better eventually, whatnot. Well, all of a sudden, here comes this Italian ship owned by Mr. Forney, and this is in August of 1768. And all the indentured servants who are still hungry because they're barely getting enough sustenance to maintain working in the fields all day long, fighting alligators, fighting snakes, fighting the mosquitoes, looking for potable water. It took them a while to get used to drinking the water that came from some of the springs that has high concentrations of sulfur.
Oh, well, yes. St. Augustine has geothermal springs.
Exactly. But the sulfur, actually, if you drank the water with the salt that had the sulfur in it, it would cut down on the mosquito attacks. Yeah, there were some benefits. There were some benefits to the sulfur. In fact, that's where Ponce de Leon thought he found the fountain
of
youth
youth.
St. Augustine.
Right.
It's really just a sulfuric spring.
Yes.
But anyway, his servants realized that there's a lot of food and provisions on these ships that the Forney brought to the New World. So they throw down their tools and they are going to go storm the ship to try to get food for themselves, for their friends, for whatnot. Well, Father Theoklitos and Father Casanovas and Father Pedro Camps are trying to stop them because they know what's going to happen after this. There's going to be some type of retribution, some type of punishment imposed by Turnbull and his group. All right. Well, Father Theoklitos, unfortunately, dies during this rebellion. So he's only there for 2 months in country. Now, Father Pedro Camps and Father Casanovas tried to become advocates for the indentured servants. Now, the rebellion is put down, and they put it to they forced Turnbull to understand that you're acting in an inhumane manner. These people are not being fed. They're not having enough potable water. Life is very, very treacherous. You're treating them just in a horrific manner. So Turnbull's like, okay, we're not going to execute the ringleaders of this. We're just going to make an example out of 3 of the ringleaders. Mm-hmm. One of the ringleaders is a Greek individual. And they offer the Greek individual clemency if he is the executioner on the other 2.
Oh, God.
He can't do it. He's like, there's no way I can do this. There's just no way I can do this. And then this Italian and this Minorcan, they're as the stories go, they're begging the Greek, please go ahead, save yourself. There's no need for you to perish as well. Let's get this behind us and we'll be sacrificed. Just horrific. Now, again, they were all indentured servants, and originally it was supposed to be 7-year contracts. So if you go 1768, 7 years, 1775. Mm-hmm. Well, Turnbull and his partners continued to extend everyone's contract as
what an evil person.
Arbitrarily. Now, mind you, in 1769,
oh my God, what a story.
There's only 675 people that have survived from the 1,255 that landed from the original 1,403 that boarded the 8 ships in Minorca to come to the New World.
Carl, this is a story for a movie. I'm coming down to Florida. We are going to, really do a documentary on this. And so the plot thickens. And so what ends up happening? Did they rebel against?
So this, now we culminate to 1777. Mm-hmm. 1777, there's 300 of the indentured servants
left.
A good majority of them are Greek. They escape the plantation in New Smyrna. They traverse through the canal system. They fight the alligators. They fight the snakes. They fight the mosquitoes. 68 miles on foot, and they come to St. Augustine.
Oh, wow.
The governor in St. Augustine grants them all clemency.
God bless him.
So where our shrine is located, physically located, originally it was the Avero house. This was the house the governor granted to the Greeks that came to St. Augustine.
Wow, what a story. St. Photios.
Father Pedro Camps stayed with the Greeks and ministered to the Greeks. And we work closely, and when I say we, our shrine and the Catholic diocese, because not only is this the Plymouth Rock of the Greek diaspora.
This really is. This is the Plymouth Rock of the Greek diaspora.
St. Augustine is also home to the first Catholic church in North America.
It's a home to the first Catholic and Greek Orthodox.
Yes.
Which is one and the same before the schism.
And what is really amazing is that we work closely with the Diocese of St. Augustine. Katie Lockhart and I work very close together. She is their archivist. She maintains what is called the Golden Book. I have a copy of the Golden Book. And what this book represents, all of the indentured servants that came to New Smyrna, that came and lived here in St. Augustine, every time there was a sacrament, it was written down what the sacrament was. Was it a wedding? Was it a baptism? Was it a funeral? Whatever the sacrament was.
Here's what's important about this story. Hellenism stayed alive. The preservation of Hellenism, the preservation of Greek Orthodoxy, as it was happening throughout antiquity, the Greeks maintained Hellenism. And this is why the Hellenic spirit is so, I would like to say powerful. We have managed to maintain our Hellenic spirit, pride, culture, and religion.